Welcome to the Self First Podcast. I'm your host, Amber Anderson, but you can call me Coach A. This is a space for growth, healing, and wholeness. Learning to love others, but not losing yourself. In this episode, my guest and I are talking about what love teaches us, marriage, divorce, and in between. We work together, we have these conversations, and I want to share this space with y'all because this is what we do, right, guys? I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
I'm Coach House, 28. I've been married going on 6 years now.
I'm Coach Pep. I'm 29 and I'm single.
All right. So yeah, how y'all feel about being on the podcast?
I feel good.
Okay.
I feel good.
I'm excited because, we're sharing our stories with the podcast, but we really share these stories with one another every day. We love what we do. We love our profession. But what really gets me through today is just having that genuine, honest life conversation with you all. So let's do it right here in front of the cameras for the world. Y'all ready?
Let's get to it.
All right. Like I said, today's topic is specifically talking about what love has taught us. And we all come from different dynamics, different walks of life, different statuses in our relationships. And when we have our conversations, probably have a lot of love conversations because Pep and I both have recently divorced. So House, you kind of just get to sit around and listen to us talk about our journey, but along the way, you share some of yours as well. And what I feel like I've learned from our conversations is that a lot of where we stand in our relationships or how we've done our relationships has a lot to do with probably how we was raised. So that's kind of where I want to start. I want to start off by asking, how do you feel like the way you were raised taught you about the idea that you have about love and relationships and even the role that you play in that relationship?
So I started off, I believe I have old school parents where, the dad goes out and work and provide for the family. The mom is the one tending or minding the home. So as a youngin', my mom was home, my dad was out working. And then my parents separated when I was 10. And so, which kind of forced my mom, now she's on her own, to be this independent woman. She had to get a job and whatnot. But I had old school parents where the guy job is to work and provide. So this is kind of like how I treat my relationships. I treat my marriage now. My wife do have a job. She does work. But like, for example, my dad was a truck driver. Every weekend he comes home, he washes in my mom's car. He's going to fill it up. He's making sure that all the bills are paid, all that or whatnot. So even now in my marriage, I wash my wife's car. I fill her car up. I handle our budget. So just that's just kind of how I treat all my relationships, even before getting married.
I definitely would agree to an extent, but I would say my parents had more of a traditional yet modernized marriage where both of my parents worked all my life growing up. But my mom, she always took care of the house, the inside of the home. So I watched my mama do the budgeting, paying the bills, setting those schedules for when me and my sister had to go to practice. And I watched my dad go to work and come home, and he coached me in sports. But he took care of everything that was outside the house. He made sure the grass was cut. He took care of the maintenance of the car. So growing up, love to me was taking care of things because that's what I watched my dad do. Well, on the other side of it, I grew up a mama's boy. Mm-hmm. So I also used to hear from my mama about how she knew for a fact that my dad loved and was in love with her, but the things that he was neglectful of when it came to the way he loved her. I used to hear that from my mama. So growing up, when I became mature enough to be in a committed relationship, I used to keep those things in the back of my mind, but also trying to do the things that my dad did as well. And so I felt like because I wanted to be the man that took care of a lot of things, I neglected some of those things in my own marriage just because I was following the example that was set by my father.
I can see that. That makes sense. So when you think about those things, guys, and you think about self first, do you feel like what you saw modeled in your home, do you feel like the men in your home practice self first? Do you think they really considered themselves?
I'm going to say no. And I'm going to say that just because a word I've always used to describe my dad is he's selfless. So he will always put everything and everybody else in front of himself. So whether he didn't feel well or if he didn't feel like doing something, he knew as the man, it was no space for that. There was no time and place for him to be down and out and say, nah, I don't feel like doing this, or I'm not going to go get this done. As a man, no matter what, you take care of your responsibilities. And so I felt like with that came time where he often put himself on the back burner and took care of my mama and me and my sister. in the home and everything else. And I feel like now as he's gotten older and my sister now maturing out of the home, he takes that time for himself now
Yeah.
because he realized how important it is to not only prioritize yourself, but you can't if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of other people.
Yeah. That's what self first is about.
I definitely will agree with Pelt. My dad very similar. Like he's always thinking about others. I rarely see my dad do anything for himself or even take time to himself. Now that we all at the house and he's on his own, naturally or automatically have time to himself when he come home because nobody's in the house but him. But even now to this day though, like he's always checking on me and my sister. He even still checks on my mom, checks on my mom's mom, my grandma on that side. So like I rarely see my dad put himself first.
So looking back on that, but also knowing the men that you guys were and are in your relationships, what's something that you feel like you've had to unlearn when it comes to gender roles? Is there anything that you feel like you've had to unlearn?
Um, I would say yeah, and just speaking from my marriage, when I was married, it was my ex, he was big on there are no gender roles, meaning she felt as if she can go outside and cut the grass and wash the car, and I could be in the house cooking and washing dishes. And which to me that sounded crazy because I'm looking at it like there's no way you about to be outside cutting grass and have these people in this neighborhood looking like a man who don't take care of his yard because that's the way society looks at it when you know there's a man in the house, but you see a woman outside doing chores that a man should be doing. So with that, it came to an extent we discussed what what gender roles that we wanted to do away with and which ones we felt like were naturally acceptable. We definitely agreed that cutting the grass and stuff was naturally acceptable for the man to be doing. But as far as like the chores inside the house, um, yeah, I used to wash dishes and cook. Growing up, I watched my mama do the majority of the cooking. Can my dad cook? Yes, but he mainly cooked outside the house on the grill. It was rare that I would come home and see him in the kitchen cooking, but he could if he had to. So I feel like it was one thing that I had to learn was that every day I come home, it's the woman's gonna be doing all the cooking. When in reality, that's not always how it is because life happens.
Right.
So both of us have to pull our part, pull our load.
So as far as our marriage, it's kind of like 50-50. Like certain things, like you go into a marriage as a partnership. So as he kind of like hinted on, there's gonna be days where you don't feel like doing something. You expect it that your partner picks up that part. So there's days where like it's not necessarily gender roles. Whatever needs to get done, whoever feels like doing it does it. But then there's certain things that just naturally, as a guy, is just like relax, baby, I got it. For example, it could be something as simple as we going to the grocery store, coming out of the grocery store, I'm carrying the bags. I'm not about to just let her sit and carry all the bags, or I'm pushing the buggy, or I don't know. I live in apartments, not necessarily cutting the grass, but might be taking out the trash,
Mhm.
things like that, where society might look at it like that's what a man does, but it's just natural that I do the heavy lifting. It's not that we ever sat down and talked about you as the man need to do this or you as the woman need to do this. It's just whatever needs done. If it's cooking and she don't feel like cooking, I'll get in there and cook. Like it's just whatever needs to get done, get it done.
So, are there ever times where, you mentioned about depending on how you feel type stuff, y'all just kind of pick up the pieces. Are there ever times in those moments where there's an expectation that this is what you're supposed to do because this might be more of the heavy lifting or this might be what the man does and you kind of felt like, that's not fair that we're not considering what I might be going through or anything like that. And have you ever experienced situations where it was unrealistic expectations in moments of your marriage?
Kind of going back to like how I was raised and having like, the old school parents. And so it was instilled in me like, it doesn't matter how you feel. If it's your job to do it, go do it. So even if I come home after a long day and like literally don't feel like doing anything,
Mhm.
if there's a bunch of trash right there, it doesn't matter how you feel, go take the trash out. And so there's definitely times where like I might not feel like doing it, but it just instilled in me like I got to do it. She has never put one thing I'm thankful for. She has never put that on me,
Mm.
like step up, you the man, blah blah blah. She has never done that, which I'm grateful for because that sometimes that can be demeaning, it can hurt your pride or whatnot. But just naturally, I'm thinking like, man. it's been a day, the trash hasn't been out, like, I don't care how you feel, you need to get up and do it type deal. So that was more so from my standpoint.
Honestly, I feel like I would have to say a little bit of the opposite because I was in a situation early on in my marriage where I felt like I was being the man of the house and taking care of the things. She came to me one day. It was just like, I need to be able to trust you to lead, and I felt like I was doing that. So that was a tough conversation to have. Even so, being she basically wanted me to start taking over the budgeting for us. But growing up, I had watched my mama do that. So I was looking at it like that's the role of a woman. Like that's what I feel like you should be doing for us. But that's not what she wanted to do. Like she literally wanted me to take care of all the things. And so even with me taking on that role, like, part of me felt like it was unrealistic because I was like, dang, I'm putting all this on me. Like, what are you doing? But as a man, I felt like I couldn't communicate that because
Yeah.
now I'm complaining. But I'm not, why would I complain when this is what I wanted at the same time?
Right.
So I think the hardest part for me was adapting to it because it was new. And I felt like I didn't, not that I didn't have the space, but I guess I didn't have the courage to communicate what I needed in that moment.
Mhm.
Instead, I just took it on, and I say this all the time, like I'll take everything to the chin, like no matter what it is, I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna do my best to figure it out. But in that, I was drowning, and I wasn't asking for help from my partner.
Wow. Yeah. And I think that's really what I had to realize as well. In my marriage and in relationships in general, you get so caught up in wanting to serve the other person, to fulfill their expectations and even your own expectations that you have for yourself going into a relationship. But there are times where, like you said, take it on the chin. And I don't know how fair that is to me, or what I have learned, especially in my singleness. I've learned that it's not fair to me. I even learned this in my marriage as well. It's not fair to me or my partner when I choose to be silent about what I need, be silent about what I feel, and be silent in just communicating that, like, yes, this might be an expectation that you have from me in this moment, or yes, this might be something that I've done in the past, but I might not have the capability of doing it right now. And so we just push through and we keep trying, and then we found ourselves in another place. And whether it's longer down the line, it's gonna blow up. It's almost like shaking up a bottle of soda. Like at some point when you open that bottle, it's going to explode. So
Mhm.
when it comes to those expectations that we have, or the role that we are trying to play or wanting to play in our relationship, when does it get to a point that you have to speak up and say, I can't, or this isn't working for me?
Speaking from my experience, once I got to that point, I felt like it was too late because I felt like I went through the storm and we did all the things like we tried to do the work in counseling. And even in that space, like I talked about what I needed and what I wanted. And then leaving there, it was the work just wasn't working. And so by that point, it was this isn't working for me. And then it got to the point to where we're both telling each other the same thing. And so now we realize that we're both standing on the common ground, but we're not standing on the same side. And I felt like had we took the time to try to have that conversation sooner rather than both of us avoiding it, we probably would have had a different outcome because we could have tried to find a different avenue to get us back on track. But by that point, we were both so far gone. And I used to tell people it was just like we're both standing on two separate sides of an ocean, or she's on the ship and I'm standing on the land, and the ship is leaving. And we're both waving at each other. Like I see you, and I know I should be there, you should be here, but instead we both made up our own minds about how we're going to go about this.
Going back to your soda analogy, we was in a very similar situation not too long ago, maybe about 2 years now or a year ago, where we both were similar as far as uh, like just taking it to the chin, kind of like what you speak on. Like you said, eventually it's gonna blow up. So we finally got to understand it now. Like we in a great space now, but this is how we approach it. So we try to live out, a biblical marriage where you die to self first to take care of the other person or sacrifice. But also biblically it speak about not letting the sun go down without you speaking about how you feel, or like don't go to bed angry. So right now we at a spot where we try to communicate before the day is over with. If it's a petty issue, then we go ahead and talk about it at that time. And if it's like something that like man, I just need some time. It might be 11 o'clock at night. It might be the next day, 7 o'clock in the morning. But we in a spot now where we communicate pretty much any and everything. So we don't get to where we were a year or two ago.
Yeah. So are you saying where y'all were a year or two ago was a lot of keeping things bottled up inside?
Yeah, for the crazy part is like you really don't know how bad it is until that person communicates it. So like it's not to say that we went years without communicating anything. It's just like you might belittle the issue. I might belittle her issue, or there might have been times where she belittled her own issue. Like, she approaching me like kind of like in a soft manner. So I'm thinking like, oh, it ain't that big of a deal. But really, nah, it's impacting her emotionally
Yeah.
or mentally. And so, like up until a year ago when everything came out, it was just like, man, this is years worth of like not only listening to you, but you when you listen to somebody, you also gotta be able to comprehend what they're saying. And in a relationship, there's some type of compromise that gotta be made
Right.
most of the time. I wasn't, and we always joke around and say we got three C's: communicate, comprehend, compromise. And
I like that.
I
I have
was
to
not
write that down.
comprehending and compromising it. So I take a lot of blame for where it to the point it got to. But yeah, 'cause I definitely believe in that soda analogy.
Thank you for sharing that. So have you either one of you ever fallen for someone's potential instead of their reality?
I think when you meet somebody or you courting somebody is is always the potential. I don't ever think you in reality
That until it's
months,
reality.
yeah, into months, years later,
Yeah.
just because while you courting, not necessarily saying that you're doing all the things right, but it's way different from at least at my stage of life, like where you living with somebody and like, you going home to that person every day and expectations and jobs and everything starting to like take a toll on the relationship. So I think it's potential all the way up into you live with that person
Until you
really.
run out
Yeah,
of your
yeah.
potential.
Uh, but to answer the question though, yes, the woman I'm married to now, my wife, I married who I believe that she would be. And to this day, I think the person that I married, she still is. And if she's not, she's like 90% of
Mm-hmm.
the person I married.
Oh, you did good.
Yeah, I feel like people change. Of course, there's like little things of her that change. And honestly, there's some things that like gotten better.
She gonna like that.
And I feel like,
Yeah, you get extra brownie points with that one.
oh my God. But I also feel like she made me better. Like I can honestly look back and say like, dang, like people actually like me back then. Like, man, they'll love me now if they can have me now.
But they can't.
Yeah.
Right. But nah, I think from my experience, speaking on behalf of me and my ex, I think that was the basis of our relationship was potential because we met each other at like I met her when I was 19. And so with that, I'm still a young man who's not I still got a lot of growing up to do. So even in that, she witnessed me go through all the stages from being a young man to turning 21 where I consider myself being grown, but not even independently grown because I'm still codependent on my family. And even everything outside of that was she used to tell me all the time, like, I see that you have infinite amount of potential about you, but how long is it gonna take you to reach that potential? And so I felt the same way. Like I used to tell her, like, you're gonna be a great mother, you're gonna be great at X, Y, and Z. But at the same time, we both were growing, but we weren't growing together. So we never got to witness each other tap into that full potential that we're in now.
Yeah.
Like she used to say all the time, like it sucks that we always make somebody better for the next person. And so now we both like in hindsight, we get to sit back and let the next person experience the best part of us that the last person helped us become. Because now we're fully matured and we've healed the parts of us that was broken. And so now we're tapping into our full potential, but we don't get to witness that with each other.
Right. I used to say, this was in my very first relationship, and I'm 10 years older than y'all. So when I was when I was 19, that was like my first love experience, and we was in that for a long haul. But I remember when we broke up, I used to be like, man, especially after they moved on in life and established a beautiful life. I used to look in that situation and be like, I watered that. I nourished that. So I used to use the analogy of a flower. Like somebody else gets to have the blossom. I feel like I help till the ground and water and sunshine and all those things. And you don't always get to stick around to witness or experience somebody else's bloom. I think now where I'm at in life, I can be okay with that. But definitely when I was younger, that used to really bother me because I'm like, we went through some things together and we couldn't get it together for us, but it was together for somebody else. And now, like I said, I'm able to recognize that that's okay. Cause if life haven't taught me anything else, it's taught me that there's greater days ahead. So for sure.
But
I,
good.
that's why I say I definitely agree with that. Just because I just remember like early on, like before my divorce was finalized, like even when I was separated. I mean, it was days. So I think I came to work and I told you, House, that from the outside looking in, like I'm seeing her do all the things that I used to ask her to do, and it was just like, dang, like it used to make me mad because I was sitting here like, how can you do all this now
Mhm.
when I was sitting here asking you to do these things before, and I felt like it was falling on deaf ears, and now I see you doing all these things, so it used to put me in a space where I used to question like, did you not want to do it? Was I not worth doing it for? But then I had to realize, like, even through therapy, like, that has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
It's everything to do with that person and what they want to do. And so, like, once I heard it that way, it changed my perspective on the situation. And it was easier for me to accept that she's doing everything that she wants to do now. And I'm glad that she's in a space where she can do those things.
Mhm.
To reverse the question, like I'm thinking about like sports. Like we see the potential in a kid.
Mm.
We want a kid, we want to work with that kid. And you a lot of times you stick it out with that kid to see if they reach their potential. But how much of the downside or the red flags did you see in the midst of seeing all the
Yeah.
potential that you ignored? Or you thought like that's not really a red flag. That might be like a yellow flag. So like in y'all situations, how real was that? Like, man, I saw the red flags, but I thought the potential was greater. Or I didn't think those were red flags and they end up being red flags.
This is sound crazy. I feel like I really didn't start to notice the red flags until I was in a space where I wasn't looking at her the same way anymore. And so I felt like maybe I was blinded by love. Is the reason why I didn't notice the red flags because I loved everything else about that person. But then once we got to the spot, like to the point to where you weren't happy, you started to notice like all the other things about what this person is doing or about them that you really don't like or you fail to notice at first. And by this point, it's you too far gone. Because not just saying you're too far gone to where you can't address it, but you're already so deep into the situation where if you address it now, why wasn't this a problem before? Or you're just looking for a reason to not be happy or to argue. And so then it just became the point to where it's just like, I'm just gonna shut up about it. I'm just gonna deal with it in hopes that it'll get better. So that was my take on the situation.
Yeah. I think for me, it's been a little minute since I feel like I fell for potential. So if I can reflect back on those time, I feel like a lot of the moments, almost kind of like what Pep just said, when you're in a different space in life, when when you might be going through a storm, when you might be empty yourself, or when that person might just be showing you something totally different. I was also taught at a younger age that we oftentimes send our representative when you were talking about we really don't meet the reality until way down the line. Because when you want to date somebody, when you want to get to know somebody, sometimes you send a representative to represent you
Mhm.
well. So you put your best foot forward. It does take a little going through some mud with somebody to recognize their real face, their real personality. By that time, you're so in love. It still feels good. I want this to work. I done told everybody that this is who I'm gonna be with. So you push through those moments, but eventually it's not gonna work. Like you're gonna have to look at them and look at yourself and say, this does not serve me anymore.
Have you ever, and you can answer as well, but have you ever looked at someone and it was a red flag to maybe their ex or to their friends,
Oh yeah.
but you said like that won't happen
Yes.
with me or that's not a red flag to me?
I can't tell you how many times I used to want to say something like, "I see what they was talking about." Like, for real, like, when you told me this story about your ex in the beginning, I used to be like, "Why they was tripping?" But then
Mhm.
after you started tripping, I'm like, "Okay."
Now I see.
Yeah, for sure.
Have you experienced it Okay, that's the negative side. Have you ever experienced it in a positive way?
Meaning that the ex.
Like they had a red flag to the world or to the people around them,
Mhm.
but with you, that red flag that wasn't a red flag for you, and it ended up working out. And I only ask that because I'll share a moment about my marriage about it. But
I can say is that I tried my very best. That was actually a mission that I was on, was to show them and show myself, like, whatever red flags that someone else might have saw, that's not your truth. That's not who you are. That's not who I see you as. And so that's really what probably caused me to stick it out for a while, because I was really trying to get to letting that be the truth. But again, the potential versus the reality, and that reality hit. And yeah, I don't have that story, bro.
what about you? Have you ever experienced that?
I mean, I feel like now in the space that I'm in with being single and dating, I feel like now when I start to see red flags, typically I don't ignore them.
Okay.
And when I say that now, because I'm in a space to where I don't have to accept it.
Yeah.
And so it's more so of like me being able to pick and choose like what I want to deal with. Now I'm not saying that I haven't dated anybody who has red flags, because I'm sure I have, but I didn't see them at first because, like you say, we send a representative, and it goes like the same with me. I'm pretty sure I always put my best foot forward when I'm first meeting somebody. So it takes time to before you actually can realize and see that person's true authentic self. So I don't know if that answered your question. Do I see red flags and choose to push past them in this day and age? I'm gonna say no.
You don't. We know. We know. You'll
Wait,
be
what you
done
mean?
tomorrow.
I don't know. I feel like
Yes.
I feel like I seen Pep on both sides.
I
Like
mean,
Yeah.
like he'd be like, "Man, what is this?" And then like the next day, like he's back calm. And then I've seen him where it's like, "Nah, bro, this ain't it."
But don't you love having that opportunity to make that decision for yourself? Like, do you feel like in your singleness you have that flexibility to be like, I'm not putting up with this, versus when you have decided to put the label on it, be in that committed relationship, you might would give a second, third chance, question some things.
yeah, for sure. Because I just feel like now with me, like I always say, like we grown, we ain't gotta lie. I mean, me, I'm big on communication. Like I'm big on conversation. So I like to communicate up front, like what my expectations are. And as soon as like I communicate them and you choose to, and you hear them and you still choose to deal with me, now I believe that you feel like you can uphold those expectations. So as soon as I feel like you're not, I'm cool. And I want people like, once I say I'm cool and I get cool,
You be cool.
I'm really cool on the situation. So
Oh, ice.
I won't be pressed about it. I'm gonna leave it where it's at. But I'm also in a place where I say this, like, especially with us being educators, that I meet people where they are. And so if I meet you and I feel like you are actually putting forth the effort to want to date and to want to get to know me and vice versa, then I'm gonna keep that up.
Yeah.
But if we meet and we have conversation here and there sporadically, then that's just going to become the norm. So I feel like there's no room for me to be pressed about whatever the situation is, because we've already laid the foundation for what this is between the two of us.
I think y'all will end up liking it, but this is not a red flag to the world. So of course, like her ex in college, I would know who that is. He knew who I was, all those good things. But so this is not a red flag to the world. I guess a red flag to him and maybe a couple other people. But my wife is a very strong woman, like strong and independent, which is part of the reason why I loved her so much or was turned on by her. And so a lot of people saw it as like a red flag or whatnot. But man, that's been the best thing about her
Mm-hmm.
because like I feel like she has elevated me crazy in all aspects of life. She'll be quick to tell me, like, nah, that ain't it. Or catch an attitude when she don't need to, but it tightens me up. And I don't know, just her strongness or independency. It's just a lot about her that just it ended up elevating me. A lot of times growing up, my women were my yes man.
Yeah. I
But
kind of
like,
giggled just now because it sounded like you kind of like when she might tell you.
no, yeah.
Say
All
it
right.
in the real
Okay,
life.
like,
It's okay, bro.
like I got a little ratchet side of me. She, bro, like, be professional. You know, it's just, I don't know, well, she elevates.
Okay. Okay.
Where
Okay.
other people thought, man, she's too strong of a woman or too this or too that. It's like, nah, it's been good for me.
But it also speaks volumes to the type of man that you are too, though, because a lot of women who are strong and independent, like you said, it takes a lot for them to being able to let a man come into their life and also lead them.
Yeah,
Because they've been doing that. They've been doing it on their own for so long.
I remember within our first 6 months, we got into a huge argument because she went and bought something off of Facebook Marketplace. And it was like a big dining room set. She wanted to go get it. She wasn't going to tell me about it until after she got it. She had to go get it from somebody's house in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, first of all, it's heavy. Second of all, you're a woman going by yourself to somebody's house and you don't know what could happen, anything. And so that was our first big argument because she did not understand it. And so eventually I ended up being the one going to get it. And thankfully I went. It was literally in the woods and it was a older man. It's like, man, ain't no telling what could have happened.
So do you ever run into, it doesn't sound like it because you just said it works out great for you, but you also started off talking about how you was raised, men doing the hard things. So is there ever times where the independent, strong woman um sometimes conflict with the role that you want to play in your marriage?
No, I kind of like it. I ain't gonna, I mean, I'm gonna be completely honest. I kind of like it just for a simple fact, like sometimes, like I know she ain't gonna depend on me. Like I can go in here and relax because she ain't about to depend on me to go do this or do that. So sometimes it's nice not have to just always cater to her. Like she good. Like she don't need me. She want me. So it's just like
Shucks now.
so no,
I
it's
like
good.
that.
Oh man.
Oh my God. But yeah, no, it's good.
God,
You
that's
notice,
over
you
here
notice,
wanting to be
hey,
married again.
you notice the episode don't come out today, right? It's gonna be a minute before she see this. But
Yeah,
like
right.
going back to what you just said, I felt like that was something that I struggled with in my past relationship and my marriage, is because number one, like my ex, she was older than me. And so like with that being said, like I take pride in being a leader. And so like one problem I used to always have is, how can you acknowledge me being a leader in all these other places, but not here at home? And that was one thing like we used to go back and forth about, was that I felt like she wouldn't fully submit to me and allow me to be the man. Like I felt like I was having a daily battle every day between her wanting to be the alpha woman and me being the man. And she grew up
And not
watching.
following that balance.
Eventually it did, but once it did, it was just like it balanced, and it was because she was in this place where she no longer cared. Reflecting back, I can say that like that's what the switch was. Like she no longer cared, so it allowed me to be the man, quote unquote, and take care of all the things I wanted to take care of. But it was also because she had checked out, and I just hadn't noticed it yet.
Man. So my next question was, why do you feel like it's so hard for men or mass presenting women like myself to really voice their needs in their relationship and not do so with judgment?
Because I think it goes back to how we was raised. I think we both was raised similar. It was just there's a certain thing about a man that's just like, you don't express yourself emotionally, that's viewed as being weak or less than. The man is supposed to be strong.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like think about lions. The male lion is the one who's standing at the top of the mountain roaring. It's just something about being a man that I don't know was passed down from generation to generation. You got to be tough. You can't let people see you vulnerable or weak, or I don't know what it is, but that's just how we was raised, I guess. So it just stuck with us.
Do you feel like that's okay though? If you had a son, would you raise your son in the same way that you just said men have been raised from generation to generation?
See,
I feel like I would. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying I think I would, just because like I have a daughter and I'm raising her to be tough. Like don't depend on nobody. Like you got this. But at the same time, we do allow her to have a voice. We don't want somebody to grow up in this world, don't feel like they have a voice or they can't make their own decision. So it's like little stuff. We'll let her pick out her outfit and stuff, or if she says she don't want this, we'll be like, what do you want? You know, you still give her a voice. I definitely, to answer your question, I definitely think I would, if I had a son, I'll probably raise him same way to be tough. Eventually, I want him to be the leader of his household, and the leader can't always be weak.
Let Pep answer before, because I feel like I want to go back and forth with you right now. You know, I'm raising sons as well, and I'm like, emotions ain't weakness. But we go ahead,
that
Pep.
it's just like I feel like growing up, I never saw that from my father. So it's like I never saw my father express his emotions unless he was angry. And so like as a like growing up, like that was me. I wasn't one to sit here and tell somebody that you just made me upset. I didn't know how to voice those emotions until I got older. And that was one thing that my marriage had taught me was how to communicate my emotions.
Mm.
But it took me a long time to get into that place where I could be vulnerable. And so I also feel like with raising um a black boy, a black son. I want to raise him the same way I was raised, but I also want them to be able to have the voice to express themselves, and I want them to be able to see because kids learn from what they see. So also in that environment, I want them to be able to see like me in the way that I communicate, in the way that I show love to their mom, and so I might not be verbally telling them that yes, it's okay for you to speak up and it's okay for you to feel these emotions. That's when I want to be able to sit there and let them know that. But I also don't want to be the one that's having to sit there and constantly coddle my boy or my son because I feel like he's what the generation will look at as quote unquote as soft. Like I want him to be have enough masculinity about himself to where he doesn't come off that way, but also have a voice to be able to express like you just hurt my feelings
Mhm.
because of X, Y, and Z and be able to be heard and communicate that. Because that's one thing I didn't have when I was growing up.
I had a question based on what you said. Like you said, you will want your household or your marriage or your relationship to reflect the communication, what your son can view as good communication.
Right.
So old school thinking is we're not gonna sit here and argue in front of the kids. Like that's behind the scenes. So how would your kid see you communicating to your partner? I don't know,
Like a disagreement?
yeah.
That's a very good question. Honestly, I don't know, but one thing I would be aware of is that number one, that this child is in the room, and so I would want to be able to communicate that to my partner that we have to find a way to communicate our disagreement in front of this child without emotions getting too high and us yelling and cussing at each other, and to also get to the point where one of us leaves the room before the conversation is over. So being able to model that, yes, we can go back and forth and have a disagreement and still be mad and not agree, but also we did it civilly because that's something that kids don't see every day. And that's something that we as adults, like, we don't see that every day.
Mhm.
Like, we don't see people sit there and discuss their disagreements. I feel like we do it, but I feel like other people that we might see as adults or our peers expressing disagreements and not being able to sit there and stay in that same place. Like, once somebody has to leave or we're going to agree to disagree, now you mad and we're not talking for days. Like, that's not healthy on any accord. So I just feel like that's one thing that you have to be self-conscious about when handling a conflict, knowing that there's your children, whoever's around, and you're trying to model that behavior.
I think that's good because, we think about old school relationships or even I grew up in a single home. I never saw uh, co-parenting or partnership in my home to know what arguing with your mate looks like or don't look like. But I have had friends that if I had to look at their life, they have stayed in some situations that I personally felt like they probably should have walked away from. But it's because in their home they saw mom stay with dad no matter what. And it probably presented to them at the dinner table in the living room setting as one big happy perfect family, but mom dad was dealing with some stuff behind the scenes that they never got to see. But and so because they never got to see those things in their own relationships and adulthood, they just keep dealing with things behind closed doors and continue to push through to the world like everything's okay. So I like that.
No, I like the idea a
I
lot.
feel like
It's hard.
it's definitely easier said than done. And I say that just because one thing, like, I grew up and I witnessed my parents have disagreements early on as a kid.
Mhm.
So like I saw like all phases from my parents. Like I witnessed them having disagreements early on in their marriage and my mom and daddy not talking for a week or 2 weeks at a time. And them going back and forth, or I'm noticing like we at the dinner table and my mama talking to me and my sister, my daddy talking to me and my sister, but they're not talking to each other. And it's like kids pick up on that. Like at an early
Yeah.
age, I picked up on like my mom and daddy aren't happy right now. Like they're not talking. Or like as soon as we leave the dinner table, my mama's in the living room watching TV and my daddy's in the room.
Mm.
When we always sit in the living room as a family, but we're not doing that right now. And so it's just like to me that's not healthy. Like reflecting back, that's not healthy. Like even now, like my parents, seeing them handle conflict now is I've witnessed them sit down and have a conversation and figure out how both of them can fix the problem
Yeah.
instead of the problem being in the middle of the two of them. And I feel like that's the issue that we all have today is that we won't take the time to get on the same page. We'll be in the same book, but not on the same page.
Yeah.
That be the problem.
Getting back to the main question, how's it for you raising sons?
When it comes to this specific question of just being able to speak your needs and speak up for yourself, we definitely try to do a good job guiding them into that space of being able to say what you need, be okay with your emotions as they come up. I feel like as long as we continue to give them that space, continue to give them the tools to grow into amazing young men, the moment we pull up at the gas pump, they're going to get out and pump the gas. They're going to open the door. They're going to carry the bags in. They're going to even come outside and get the bags. So all those things that we have guided them to do, they also have the space to say like, I'm not okay right now. Do they always do it? Probably not, but we're going to always encourage that. So I think it's one thing to raise men to be men. I just never want my desire to raise my boys to be men to cause them to feel like they have to lose their voice. So I'm
I
just gonna
like that a lot.
encourage both every single time. I'm gonna encourage both. They have their mom, and I remember when I first came into their family, I used to take them to go get the flowers or whatever for their mom, and I'd be like, you make sure that you honor your mom before any little girl on a Valentine's Day type stuff. So I'm always trying to teach them what I feel like is the way that you should love a woman and be there for a woman and be a man in this world. But I'm never going to tell them that they have to be tough in this moment. I just think that's not fair. And that could be because I'm a woman. I have such a heart for men and I hate to see a man hurting. I hate to see a man feeling like he cannot feel out in this world. I was at a service a week or two ago and they just went on this rant about men being men and toxic masculinity being like shut that stuff down. That's not what we should be out here teaching and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. Y'all want men to be tougher, but we've also seen what men trying to be tough looks like. We've seen men jumping off the side of the bridge. We've seen men doing all kind of stuff to take themselves out of here
That's
because they
true.
don't feel like they have the space to show emotions. I'd rather you be alive today, able to deal and cope with your life than to be out here losing it, trying to uphold some society norm.
So, House, I know you got married young. What outside factors would you say contributed to your role in you getting married at such a young age?
It's a good question.
Honestly, to be completely honest, I think it was 80-20. 80% like outside factors, 20% me on my own. Just because I got married so young, straight out of college. I got married a year after I graduated, but we got together while I was obviously in college. So just the community around you. I went to a Christian school, didn't classify myself as a Christian or was saved until my sophomore year of college. So just learning the Bible, going to church, being in community with Christ-like believers. Of course, they pushing you, teaching you more about the Bible, the no to premarital sex, and just building our foundation strictly on just hanging out with each other and all we doing is talking. As I'm getting to know my wife and enjoying her and then liking the things that I like about her, and you got the outside people saying, what you waiting on? Like if you feel like you got the one, what you waiting on? So it makes me start thinking, what am I waiting on? If I know this is the person that I want to be with, or this is the person that's I think I believe is gonna elevate my life, like why spend 10 years just dating?
This what you telling yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's also the guy side of me. Like, I'm about to go 10 years with no sex. Like, so, there's a biblical side and there's a reality side. Definitely, and there's, to answer your questions, it's a lot of outside factors that just make me come to my own truth. So, yeah. And we got married a year after I graduated, 6 years come this December.
Do you feel like where you are now, do you feel like y'all should have waited a little longer or y'all did what y'all needed to do?
That's a tough question. I don't even know if we would be married. We would have waited, but I think we needed to wait just because you don't really know what marriage is like until you're married. And so once I got into it, There's a lot of immaturity on my side. She's older than me, but by a year, but she was also older than me in maturity too. So it was almost night and day with her maturity and my immaturity. Just being a man in a relationship, supposed to be Christ-like, supposed to be the leader of the household. There was just a lot of things I was forced to try to grow up quick in, and it wasn't happening. So we struggled early on, and in my head, man, I should have just waited and to rush this. But looking back at it now, it's not nothing that like I would tell others like you can't get through. If you want to get married young and you know you got the right one, do it and navigate through it with communication or just having the right community around you. Community is so important.
Mhm.
And I'm thankful for the community that we did have. I'm thankful for the community we have now. Like I get to talk it out with y'all guys. I have female best friends to get a female perspective. Me and her communicate. We go to church. We still have all of our mentors from college. Man, community is so important. If you want to get married young, I'm an advocate for it. If you want to wait, I'm an advocate for that as well.
You're advocate for doing what you need to do.
Yeah,
How you need
yeah.
to
Whatever
do
you
Just
need to do when you need to
I can
do.
see both sides of it. It was so much immaturity on my side. Like, the biggest thing, because I know we ain't got all night, but the biggest thing was money.
Yeah.
Like you no longer just spend money like you want to, or like, man, to tell on myself, I didn't even prioritize like saving money for a ring. Like I was just like, man, when that time come, I'll get there. I mean, I don't know, man. It's just immaturity. That's all I can say.
Well, do you feel like you neglected some things that you might have could have done, wanted to do for yourself by being married at this point all your adulthood?
No, just because like I'm a Christian or I claim to be a Christian. I was saved my sophomore year. Like there's certain things as a Christian I shouldn't indulge in. So if I wasn't married, I probably would be indulging in those things. So not that I don't regret getting married young. I'm really trying to unpack your question 'cause I feel like it's two sides to it. Like
I
it's like
mean,
a
because I'm
freedom side, but I'm thinking more so like now like the career choice. I
Mhm.
wanted to be a college basketball coach, and it takes so much effort and time away from like luxury, a living or doing things on your own because you out traveling or you volunteering at a camp or man, that first year or two was just all a grind and our marriage suffered because I was putting myself first or putting my career first. This is what I eventually want to be. I got out here and chase it. Like when we first met,
Mm.
you was that easy. Like you always know me as the guy with the iPad.
Yeah.
I was chasing the dream. Coach A, question for you. What lies or truths did you tell yourself after your divorce?
I struggle with my divorce. You guys know that. I struggle with believing that I can do marriage. I can do it in the future. Definitely taking some of the things that I felt like I either heard during my separation or just what the circumstance was telling me, believing that I wasn't worthy enough, believing that I don't have the capability to sustain and committed relationships. And that was hard for me because I've always kind of been a lover girl. Like I want marriage. I want family. I want something to last for forever. I get giddy at every love song that come on because I think that's what I want. That's what I've been thinking I had in the bag and then I fumbled the bag, you know? I just told myself that I'm not capable of doing this. I've worked through uprooting some of those lies. I'm calling them lies. I'm not saying that those are my truths. I refuse to continue to carry them as truths. I've started to work through undoing those things. I've tried to work through the guilt and the shame that has come with divorce and just trying to redefine myself, figure out how to rewrite my story, be okay with if commitment isn't something that's in my future or near future, but also not writing it off as well.
Of course, I had a similar journey, but I would also say like I was one of those people in my marriage. I always said like, "This don't work out. I ain't doing it again." But even after, like in hindsight, it's something I do want to do again because I want the family. I want the house with the picket fence and the dog. Like I still have the vision of what I want the rest of my life to look like, and I want to spend it with somebody else. And so I'm not one of those people who gonna tell other people like, once you go through divorce, that's it, don't try it again. No, I'm one of those people like, I've tried it. I realized what went wrong. Now I'm ready to meet my person and try it again whenever that time comes.
And if I feel like she the one for you, I'm gonna push you to put a ring on it.
Don't push him too hard now. Let him go at the pace that he need to go.
I'm gonna ask him the same question I was asked, what you waiting on? If you feel like you got the one, what you waiting on?
Well, he might be waiting to work on some things within himself.
Right.
Well, guys, we've been here for quite a while tonight. I definitely have enjoyed having y'all here. I know the topic is what love has taught us. But I also want to make sure we circle it back around and make sure we're getting that self first message out there. What is one thing that you would tell your younger self when it comes to love and partnership with somebody else? Something that maybe you've learned along the way or that you wish you would have learned and applied?
It's one thing I would tell my younger self about love is that when trying to love yourself and love another person, communicate how you both experienced love growing up. Because often we all experience love in different ways and try to meet in the middle and combine the two without actually having that conversation. So you don't make the progress that you usually would had you decided to have that conversation up front about what you saw love as and what it is to you. So that's one thing I would tell my younger self about navigating love, is to have that conversation with myself and with the person that I'm trying to love.
I would tell my younger self, don't lose your community. Just reflecting back on the low part of our marriage is we lost community, lost the people around us that helps your situation or help you navigate through whatever you're going through. So I would tell my younger self, don't lose community. We started off strong because obviously we was in college or fresh out of college, and we're in a strong place now. And in the middle part, the difference between the two was the people around us.
I like that. That's good.
What about you?
I think if I can go back and talk to my younger self, I will probably tell her that everything that you are dreaming of when it comes to what love looks like, it might not always be the truth. And that's okay. So don't lose the dream, but also be okay with knowing that just because it doesn't look like what you thought it was going to look like doesn't mean that this isn't a beautiful love story for you.
That was good.
Well, I hope you guys have a good night. This is going to air at 6 a.m. So the fact that I'm calling it night might sound a little crazy, but that's the truth. It's night over here. And we're going to be at work tomorrow. We won't be in the same space together, so we're not going to have these conversations for like 2 weeks.
Got the same break, though.
Yeah, true.
We'll catch one of them breaks.
Yeah. All right. Y'all have a good one.
You too. Thank you for having us.